Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Doug Walker, who is from That Guy with the Glasses, and also Entrepreneur of the Year for 2010. So, how are you doing, sir?
Okay, if I'm entrepreneur, I have to talk like this. Yes, I'm doing very well. I just bought 5 children. No reason, I just want to buy them.
Well, you did blow up Canada, though.
Yes, that's true. I'll blow it up again. I'll put it together just so I can blow it up again, yes.
All right, as the Nostalgia Critic, you review nostalgic things. What made you decide to review nostalgic things?
I think I go through that phase I think everybody goes through where they just become, nostalgic, and I sort of went through it, sort of early college, and after a while I just found out a lot of other people sort of had the same obsession. I thought, nobody's, reviewing this stuff because a lot of it's very hokey now and very silly and doesn't hold up that well, so, whether there's a character that actually felt like betrayed by his childhood, like he's actually angry that they didn't hold up, and it pretty much just spawned from there.
Gotcha. Now, how do you go about getting the stuff that you review, if you can say that?
What, you mean, like the movies and stuff?
Like the movies, correct.
Honestly, just Netflix or eBay. I mean, nothing too complicated. Some stuff like the Titanic animated musical and Moonwalker, like we had to go to, Australia. I mean, not actually go there, but, get it from Australia off of eBay. So some of them are a little hard to find, but they're pretty straightforward. Most of them are pretty easy.
Gotcha. This also leads to the next question, which is what do you do with the movies after you review them? For instance, if they're one you got off of eBay, do you take them out, have That Guy with the Glasses duck hunt session with the movies, or?
With Neverending Story 3, yes. Only a few of the DVDs do I actually destroy, but that's the only one I really physically destroyed, was Neverending Story 3. But all the others, I usually keep them, and sometimes I'll either eBay them, or even when we do our charity drive, sometimes I'll give them away for whoever donates a certain amount. So it varies. I rarely hold on to them.
Gotcha. Now, you also do Chester A. Bum.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you make the distinction to differentiate Chester A. Bum from the Nostalgia Critic? Because I believe your first review was Transformers, and that grew into Chester A. Bum, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it did. I knew that movie was going to be a really big hit. I was just trying to capture the sort of the feeling that everybody had coming out of the movie, which was, oh, that was awesome, yeah! I mean, a lot of them were just sort of, the either nostalgic dorks or like high school jocks. So, it was the perfect crowd. And, yeah, I was just trying to capture that excitement, and I put together this video that's very similar to Chester A. Bum. And I figured that'd be a good way, because this is while I was on YouTube, that'd be a good way to sort of like get the zeitgeist and have people come to my site. Technically, it's kind of the second video. The first one is the Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue, where they talk about drugs and stuff. But where was I going with this? Oh, when did I make the distinction? I did that just to capture the voice of the people, but Chester A. Bum actually sort of came from a voice I did in the Cloverfield review, where I'm imitating the movie and I just shake the camera saying, "Oh my God, we're all gonna die!" And I just like the voice so much. I said, I gotta give this a character. So I thought maybe sort of do what I did with the Transformer review, except make it a bum and talk about current movies. So that seemed to work out pretty good.
Speaking of the bum, one of your fairly recent reviews was of Snowmageddon 2011.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, what made you decide that you would do a video on that?
Actually, my brother's fiance thought that out, because we knew the snowstorm was coming, and she just sort of said, wouldn't it be funny if Chester reviewed the storm, because there's not really any good movies out. And I said, that's a good idea. Okay, we'll do that. So we went out sort of as it was beginning, so a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. It's like, no, it got bad. It got really, really bad. So it's like the third worst storm we had in Chicago. So, yeah, it was actually her idea.
Gotcha. It dumped, I think, 2 feet on us here in Macomb, because I'm in Illinois as well.
Yeah, no, it was a monster. It was definitely a monster.
Now, One of the other characters you did, which then abandoned, I have heard you may not want to talk about. I believe his name was Melvin.
Oh, yes. That was, I think, deemed the worst sketch I ever had on the site.
I did not know if you would want to go into details about that or just it didn't happen.
No, yeah, I'll talk about it. It was called Melvin, Brother of the Joker, and it was, again, trying to sort of make a penny off of, the Dark Knight craze, which was huge. But I think this was like the fourth Dark Knight sketch I did, so it had that going against it. But on top of that, it was totally improvised on the spot. None of it was planned out, and there's little to no editing. And it just bombed big time. Like, nobody thought it was funny. Sort of like Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, except no songs and horrible. So, nobody really went for it, and we just sort of deemed, okay, this is our worst sketch, and we'll just always make this like the worst sketch we've ever done. So it's still on the site, though, if you want to go see it.
Now, that leads me into the next fairly controversial thing on your site, but I thought it was hilarious. My wife, however, hates it, which I do believe you were the first victim of spooning with Spoonie.
Second.
You were second, weren't you?
Yeah, Lindsay was the first.
That's right, I couldn't remember. I got those confused. But, did you think that would become, well, I don't know if it's a hit or not. I find them funny, but...
Well, it really, because we had because Lindsay did the first one. I remember she came up to us before it went up. I think this is when we were doing one of the crossover reviews, and she showed this to us. And we just laughed our asses off. We loved it. And she said, I don't know, I'm sort of shaky about putting this on. You think it's too controversial and stuff? And we thought it was hilarious. We said, put it on, but we think it's one of the funniest things we've seen. She put it on, and it was controversial, but again, people loved it. They got a big laugh out of it. So I guess to make it either less controversial or more controversial, we switched it so that the next time he'd be with a guy. And I thought, well, it just makes sense to have it be the Nostalgia Critic. He was over for the charity drive, so, let's just do it. And I think we got Angry Joe in there and also got Bennett. And, yeah, it turned out really, really funny.
Now, you also do a couple of skits that I've seen on the sites. For instance, Melvin, I think, was one of them. Will there be more? Will there be more skits like the Cheerios 2 skit that's on the Best of That Guy with the Glasses DVD?
Fingers crossed, hopefully. But a lot of this stuff, any sketch I do is usually at a con, because I always have to film something when I go to a convention. Like, for example, I have a Zod sketch coming up soon that I did at a con. But in terms of sketches, it's hard because I always have to put out a minimum of 3 videos a week, and one of them has to be a Nostalgia Critic. And people love the other characters. I got so many characters going on that it's almost always something character-related. So if there ever is a sketch, it's almost always going to have one of the 4 or 5 characters that I have. So we'll see. We like to do more sketches, but it's just a time issue.
Now, you were talking about different cons and fests that you go to. What do you think about the people who cosplay as you at some of those?
For the men, it's disturbing. For the women, it's hot. And for the people I can't tell, really, I can't tell.
All right. Because I know that there was a skit on the That Guy with the Glasses DVD as well that was a guy cosplaying as the Bum, I believe.
Yeah. That's always, I don't think I've seen a female Bum yet. That'd be interesting if someone tried to do a female Chest, or maybe Chest, I don't know, or Chessie, Chessie A Bum, I don't know. But, there's certainly a lot of female Nostalgia Critics. I don't know why. The women really seem to like to dress up like the Nostalgia Critic, and they still look bad. I haven't seen a female Bum yet. I think people like the Nostalgia Critic costume because it's so simple. A suit coat, hat, tie, that's about it.
Now, some of the other things that you do, you mentioned that you do movies, and I mentioned you do other nostalgic things at the beginning. Do you prefer doing stuff that's not movie-driven? Like I know you did the cereal mascots at one point, and now you did one that's Spider-Man moments, but theoretically that's not focusing on just one movie.
The movie stuff it's hard to say. They both sort of have good points and bad points. Whenever I do a top 11 list, they're very easy to write and very easy to film. They're very tough to edit. and they look great, but they're still very, very tough to edit because you have to really keep the flow going. You have to make a lot of cuts in it. With a movie, you can just sort of let it play. You can just sort of let it, let the scene play and then react to it. But you have to have a lot of various reactions, and you got to really play around with the jokes. So writing it and filming it is a little tougher. But movies I probably like the most because there's just so many good jokes you can get out of them. And it is a challenge just to keep coming up with new various ways of being incredibly angry.
Switching gears to movies that you said you kind of like doing because they're easy to do jokes, one of them that I thought was really easy to do jokes on, which was terrible, was The Room.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to talk about that, or is the lawsuit still pending?
It's not. No, we put it back on the site, so it's okay.
Well, what exactly happened with that?
We got an email from was it John from TheRoomMovie.com, and which we're pretty sure is Tommy Wiseau because his accent sort of came through the email. Saying, hey, don't, no, you take it down. This is a cease and disorder. You're tearing me apart, Nostalgia Critic, all that stuff. So we took it down, and just to be safe and sorry, we're sort of like, well, I think we have the law on our side, but I'm not sure. So we did some research, we talked to a lawyer and stuff, and they said, yeah, you totally get the law on your side. It's okay. So we're like, oh, okay. So we put it back up. I think a lawyer wrote a little letter, explained the definition of fair use to Tommy Wiseau, and we just went from there.
Now, have you heard that he's trying to get a Blu-ray of The Room released under the Criterion Collection?
I heard that he was trying to get released in theaters again in 3D. And I'm totally for that as long as they turn it into one of the Na'vi from Avatar, because he already sort of looks like one of those creatures. All they have to do is paint him blue, and he'll look like one of those aliens. So I'm totally for that.
Now, you have done a couple of live reviews from different Comic Cons and fests. How is that different than doing one from wherever you do your reviews from?
Well, one, there's an audience. That's always interesting experience. And some way there's more editing and less editing because on the one hand there's less editing because you're not doing as many takes. It's like you do one take and then, that's usually about it. You just wait for laughter. But there's more editing because if a joke bombs and nobody laughs, man, you got to edit that out. So it's interesting. It's fun. It's fun to see what's working live and what doesn't, and to see if a joke does bomb, if you can make up for it with another joke or backtrack. So you learn a lot from it.
You did one video game review, which was of Bebe's Kids, I believe, which you also reviewed the actual movie for. Would you review another video game if it tied into a movie you reviewed? For instance, if The Room came out with a video game?
Well, I know there is a Room video game, so I know where you're going with this. The Room video game is a little too close to the movie. It's actually like... it's literally like sitting down just watching the movie like nothing's happening. You're just going through his day. So that might be a little too tedious for me to do. But I will say we have another DVD coming out, hopefully either end of February or early March. And there is going to be another video game review on there. So you will definitely see another video game review.
Now, speaking of the DVDs that you have, you released a special 2-pack, or your site did, of Kick-Assia, the best of that guy with the glasses. Now, what was your experience with Kick-Assia?
It was definitely an experience. It was definitely very hectic, but it was cool. It's good getting all those people together and seeing them work off one another, and none of them were difficult. They were all very respectful, and I liked the way the product turned out. I think we filmed that in 4 days, and I think for a 4-day shoot, it's pretty impressive. So I'm really glad it turned out the way it did.
That is, and I honestly think you had better production values in that than they did in The Room.
Well, at least we didn't jump from high def, not high def, back and forth.
Also, while on the Kick-Assia shoot, I have heard that there was a lot of people sick or injured. And
yeah, mostly whenever I was shooting people's legs, just for yucks. They didn't take very well to it, though.
Gotcha. And then I do believe your third anniversary is coming up fairly soon. I think in May, because I think it coincides with my anniversary. But were you planning on continuing doing other things like miniseries or stuff like that?
Yeah, we're going to try definitely something sort of movie length again. Once we found out we could do it, we're like, oh, okay, well, let's do this again. And we're playing around with ideas about what we can do. We do have a basic story planned out and a basic premise, but it's not written yet, though. So we will, hopefully it'll be by May. If not, it'll be shortly after. Fingers crossed again.
All right. Are you the person who illustrates, like, the elephant in the room or the Casper ghost who says timing?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Were you an illustrator at some point? Because I find those to be very, almost professional-like illustrations.
Yeah, before I started doing this, I was actually a freelance illustrator. That's how I made my living. And it mostly started around cartooning. That was the best stuff I did. I liked doing it. So once this came around and Mike Machad and Channel Lawson came and said, hey, you can make money on this. I can? Boom, I'm making money on this. I had to give up the illustration. But as you said, it does somehow sneak its way into the video. So if you ever see a cartoon in there, not the title card, that's somebody else, but if you ever see a cartoon moving around or talking or something, that is me drawing that.
And not your brother with, I think it's an alligator or lizard head, which pops up from time to time.
Dinosaur, my friend. Haven't you heard? He's a dinosaur. God, some way to treat the entrepreneur of the year.
That reminds, one of my final questions for you is, what was it like going from YouTube to basically becoming entrepreneur of the year for 2010? Because that seems like a pretty huge leap.
I'm not sure that leap fully happened. I mean, it was voted by the people online. So I'll be honest, I think it's very odd. I haven't done anything entrepreneurish, but as I said, I sort of accept on behalf of like what Channel Lawson is doing because I think they're trying to do things that are very cool and very new. So and just the hardworking people on the site making videos and behind the scenes stuff. So I accept on behalf of that, but why I got that award, specifically me, I have no idea. I haven't done anything entrepreneurish, but it's really cool. It is funny to think just this little thing I did as a hobby, reviewing movies and doing 5-second movies, these little, just something you do for fun is now your full-time living, and it's awesome, man. It's just like the coolest blessing you can imagine, so I'm enjoying every minute.
Now, one other thing, too, is that I've talked to the Cinema Snob, who works under Channel Awesome as well, and he made the comment that when he reviews stuff, he likes the films somewhat and then just skewers them, even though he likes them. Is yours legitimate hatred for these films?
I usually don't. I'm not as angry as the Nostalgia Critic is. I've gotten a little bit more open with my opinion about what I think of a movie. Like, if a movie is bad but it has some good moments, I'll bring up the good moments. Whereas, like, the first couple reviews, I just say how terrible it is, blah, blah, blah. But there's only so many times you can keep saying every film is the worst film you've ever seen. So I started putting my real opinion in there as well. But, no, Brad's interesting because when we did the Leprechaun review, we did a crossover review, and he's just watching and having a ball and laughing and saying, oh, this is great, I love it. And as soon as we get to the review, this is the biggest pile of dirt, and it is like the exact opposite. So, his character is definitely, I don't want to say more hate-filled, but he can't find any positive aspects in a lot of the movies he reviews.
Now, one of the other things you released was I don't think it was a top 11 video, but it was the movies that you hated that everybody else liked. And I was just curious as to what your problems with Avatar was, because you explained that you had explained it to people before, and I didn't really know what that was.
It was basically sort of what I said in the video. Just I felt it's the same story we've heard in like after school specials and such. I thought the technology at times was really impressive, but I wasn't that blown away about it. I did like the 3D. I thought that was cool, but I guess as soon as they destroy the tree and the bad humans are there and the unobtainium or whatever it's called, just a few too many cliches I've seen a million times that just sort of got under my skin. Some cliches I can take. Those just really get to me.
Now, you were speaking of cliches. Is Tired Old Cliche one?
Is Tired Old Cliche a tired old cliche? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I guess so. Actually, I'm waiting for the day that a tired old cliche is a tired old cliche will be a tired old cliche as well. So
Gotcha.
That will be interesting.
One of the other things you did as well was, okay, I had it and then I lost it. Crud. All right, let's see. Yeah. I just completely blanked. I apologize for that.
Oh, good.